So we're gonna make an optic twist piece. So again, I start with the gather. And I'm gonna go for a 2 gather piece. So I'm just gonna turn this one on center. If I stop, it starts to fall off center. So I constantly have to be centering the piece because it's always trying to fall off center. If it's not on center, when I blow the bubble, I'll have a thick side and a thin side, and that makes it really difficult. So I just make this nice little egg shape, let it cool enough that I can gather over it without this one getting all squishy. And so I'll take another gather, and then I'll probably go cool my pipe again, and then we'll set it up to make the piece. Okay. So I'm going to gather again. Alright, so now I can go cool my pipe. But as I'm going to cool the pipe, I'm going to use a little bit of gravity and turning to help shape this piece. A little bit downhill so it starts to elongate. And then just like before, I got to set the bubble up about the same way every time. So I'm going to cool that bottom a little bit so that the bubble doesn't squirt right to the bottom. It'll blow in the hot part first. So I make kind of a bullet shape, and then I'm going to cap the pipe again. I hold my thumb on the end, the air expands in the pipe, if I did it right, and then it blows a bubble for me. Kind of reshape that a little bit. And what I'm doing is I'm setting this bubble up to go into an optic mold. So I try and blow the bubble out and keep the shape similar to the mold I'm going to go into. So I'm ready to go into the mold, but I got to get a little bit hotter, so I'm going to go get a reheat. And then after I get this whole bubble hot, I'm going to blow it into one of these aluminum molds that has ribs in it. And it'll make ribs in the glass for me, and thus called an optic mold. Because the thick part and the thin part of the ribs reflect light differently and makes an optic effect. So I'm going to go from here right down to here into this mold. Alright, so I come out, find the one I want, we'll go for this one, stick it in, I blow. Put the ribs on there, but I'm a little thin on the bottom. So I'm going to do what's called an optic twist. I've got the optics in, I'm going to reheat the whole piece, and then we're going to twist it up and blow it out. And on this piece, I'm going to use a little more of an Italian style or a team style. The Italians definitely made this popular. I'm going to let someone else blow while I'm working the piece. What to do is put a little neck in here. And as I'm doing it, I'm going to always turn in one direction so that it starts to twist the glass. Okay. So now I got that set up. I'm going to get this ball really cold by just dipping it in some water. And then I'm going to reheat. I can grab onto it and it won't cut. By cooling that little ball, it makes it really hard so that I can grab onto it and it won't just cut away right away. And that's going to allow me to grab it and twist the pipe, which will make all of the ribs twist around the piece. And then while I'm doing that, I'm going to ask for a bench blow. So I'm going to start, I twist, I say blow. He starts to blow it up for me, and then I'm going to stretch it down. Stop. Okay, so now I have twisted optics. Alright? So we'll get another heat. So now I've got it twisted, I got it pretty hot. Now I need to actually blow out the shape. And I'm going to utilize Nick's bench blowing while I'm shaping so we can work a little faster, a little hotter, and a little thinner. Alright, so here I go. I'm going to cut off this last little bit. I don't quite need that part. Blow. Blow hard. So I'm cooling this spot with my jacks here while Nick blows up this part. I'm kind of shaping the cup at the same time. So it allows me to do a lot of things at once. I can shape, I can cool, he can blow, stop blowing. Okay, so now I got it pretty well blown out, and I'm going to get it hot again. I'll put the neck in, we'll blow it out a little more, put the bottom in. Very much like the piece before. So now I've got the whole bubble hot again. I'm going to start my neck. Once I get a line established, I'm going to say blow light, so he can get it to thin out even a little bit more. Stop. Stretch that neck off. Blow. Get him to blow that last part out for me. Stop. Reestablish that neck. I think I'm hot enough I can still get that bottom in. That'll work. Could you make me a punty? So now the piece is still hot. It's got some motion in it. I'm okay. He's going to make the punty for me, and I just have to kind of babysit this. I got to keep it warm, but not too warm. It has to be cool enough that I can get it to crack off, but not break. When you punty up and when you take the punty off at the end, is probably the most common time for the piece to fail, for it to crack, to hit the floor, to pull a little hole out of the bottom. Just about anything can go wrong in that transferring stage. So while he's shaping, I'm going to just take a real quick flash. I'll be back in 3. My punty, he presents it real nice, keeps his hands real light, and just barely stick it on there, and then I rotate so I can find center. It's still soft enough I can move it around a little bit. And then I'm going to cool just by putting this cold metal on that tight little neck, and I'm going to tap the pipe. Comes off. And then he flashes the whole piece so it doesn't break. And then he concentrates the heat just on the lip so we can open up the piece. And that'll take us a little while to heat up. So now you can really see how that optic effect works. It makes kind of an illusion, the lines crossing over each other. Really nice effect that kind of shows off something that's inherent to glass, the fact that light passes through it. And if the glass is thin, or if it's thick, or if it's got texture to it, that the light gets distorted as it passes through, and it amplifies that effect. Thank you. So we're getting close. A couple quick flashes on the bottom. And then we can open up the lid. Spend a lot of your time in front of the glory hole. The faster a glass blower you are, usually the hotter you work and the more you get done in between reheats. So if you can get the whole piece done without reheating, you spend less time in front of the glory hole just sweating. But it takes a long time to get that proficient. So I'm going to kind of shape the side first a little, and then I'm going to stick it in and lift and expand the tool. But I have to maintain center the whole time. I can't let the piece stop. If I stop, it ovals. So I got to go back in there, and I got to be rolling the whole time to make a symmetrical piece. Since I did that, it won't be quite right. So now we have a simple piece with an optic effect to it. And then this one, I'm not going to keep. Normally we would put it in the annealer, but just for the sake of demonstration, I'm just going to pour water right on the glass that's on the punty, not the piece, so that the punty glass is really, really cold and wants to break, but the piece is hot and it doesn't. And then if I just give it a little tap, yeah, this is good. This is common. The bottom of the piece got too cold, and the little tap I gave it fractured the piece. So you can spend all that time making a piece of glass, and right at the end you got trash. It happens a lot. Even I've been blowing glass about 15 years now, and You have good days and you have bad days, just like any other kind of jobs. There's days where you do everything just perfect. You're smooth and effortless and everything works out. And then there's days where everything hits the floor. You get bubbles. Just everything goes wrong. And it may be the next day and you think, what happened? Yesterday, I was right on, and today I suck. I can't blow glass. Usually my rule about blowing, if I come in and the first 3 pieces that I'm working on hit the floor, I go away. I'll go home, or I'll go for a walk, or I'll go have a coffee. Something's not right. I'm usually got something on my mind, and it's just going to become more and more frustrating to sit here and sweat and spend all this time and money and have everything hit the floor. So I don't like to put myself in a bad blowing day. So I'll go away and come back later and try and start over. Or I'll come back in and make something else. Maybe I shouldn't make that piece today because I don't have the sensibilities to make it. Like making goblets is very much like surgery. The room for error is very, very small. It goes from being perfect to being just totally wrong with like 1 second of lack of concentration. So those days I have to be really on it. I can't be distracted or anything. It's very intense. And then there's other days that if we're making something kind of big and thick and a little more organic, it doesn't require so much precision. Those days you need to have the sensibilities to do that piece for that day. And sometimes knowing what piece to make for the day. If you're really mad at something, it's not a good day to make goblets because you need to be really calm and very exact. Or if you're hungover, or if you haven't got enough sleep and you're trying to do something that's big and physical, the heat and the weight of the thing's just going to crush you, and you're not going to have very good results. So it's a very interesting substance to play with. There's always a little bit of danger. There's some fire. There's a lot of drama. There's success. There's failure. There's passion. There's motion. There's an element of dancing with the piece. Everything that makes up a good movie is involved in glass blowing. It can be very, very physical and very aggressive. It can be very soft and very delicate. It can be, you're actually having a bit of a relationship with the piece because everything you do, however you touch the pipe, however you touch the glass, it responds right away to you. So there's this very intimate relationship exchange between you and the piece as you're working with it. And if you're trying to make something that has a very graceful, curvaceous, shape to it, and you're very angry, the piece tends to reflect what your mood is. That you're angry. It's not as graceful as it could be. It's not as elegant as it could be because you're too heavy-handed and aggressive about it. As where if you're more peaceful or maybe a little more graceful that day or in more of a loving mood, the piece tends to be nicer that day because your emotions end up getting translated into what you're doing. So it's a very, it's an exciting material. It's a very passionate material. It's a thrill-seeking sport. You love it and you hate it from day to day. My friend says it's a very cruel mistress. And then the response with teaching students is the same way, to watch them grow and have exciting times where they've been struggling with something and then one day it all clicks and they just have a fantastic blow slot and they come out of the studio and they're just really happy and really pumped up and excited. They're usually physically exhausted, but like they just won the race or something. And that's really fun to help the students realize that for themselves. And that's kind of what keeps me teaching, is to see them have those exciting days and to grow. And for me to remember the first day I got a goblet put together and it came out right. If I looked at it today, it's probably kind of dorky, but for that moment at that time, it was like I'd conquered the world or something. And again, that's something that really makes glass blowing a fun thing to do, because I don't think a lot of jobs out of there have that kind of excitement to them, things that make you driven to be competitive. And it's really not competitive with someone, it's really a competition against yourself. How far can I push it today? How tight can I make this form? How crisp can I make this line? And it's good. I like it.